furnace came on, doesn't it?
Feels like it.
Oh, this for that one.
Is that ready?
I don't know if that's just gonna take some time or.
Okay.
We heard that one.
We are recording. Ready? It's 9 a.m. and I'll call the September 11th meeting of the Floyd County Board of Supervisors to order. First item on the agenda is approving the agenda as proposed.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as proposed.
A second. Been moved by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Kiefer to approve the agenda. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item 2, public comment. We believe we have the phone calling working. Is there anyone listening on the phone that would like to make a comment, or anyone in the public? Hearing none, we'll move to item 3, review action regarding approval of the August 28, 2023 minutes.
I reviewed those minutes and I'll make a motion to approve the August 28, 2023 minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Jorgensen to approve the minutes of the August 28 Board of Supervisors meeting. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item 4, review action regarding approval of claims. And then 4A was review action regarding inappropriate use of county credit card charges.
I didn't see anything out of the ordinary in the claims when I looked at them, so I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen, to approve the claims as presented. Do you want to talk about this one first, or just approve the claims? Because that was taken care of in the claim, but it's on there to discuss. So
I think we can approve the claims.
all right, I do too. I think you're right. Those in favor of the motion to approve the claims, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Now dealing with review and action regarding inappropriate use of the county credit card charges. The Todd Schreiber, the county veterans administrator, used the wrong card when purchasing food from McDonald's. He realized he used the incorrect card as soon as the purchase was being approved. He went inside the store and had McDonald's void the transaction on the company card and reissue the charge on his personal card. It still showed up on his card statement, his county card statement, as a charge with reimbursement. So in that sense, it violated the county, well, it did violate the county credit card policy. So that is the situation. It has been resolved, but in the past, we've always issued a warning to county employees when these type of mistakes are made. And that's appropriate once again.
It's simply a mistake.
It was, I think we need to follow precedents and issue a formal warning and follow through with that if another incident occurs.
All right. Is there a motion to issue a warning to Todd Schreiber regarding improper use of the county credit card?
I'll make the motion to issue a formal warning to Todd Schreiber about for improper use of the credit card.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion by Supervisor Jordan and a second by Keeper to approve a warning to Todd Schreiber directing the improper use of the county credit card. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Well, so I just want to know how many county credit cards are out here?
Most every department that has a county card. We have a business account, and under that business account, cards are issued to.
So is there 20, 30, 50?
Oh, I'd have to, no, there's not that many.
Give me a number. How many cards are out here?
If you look on your claims, you'd see all the claims that have a department head has a card issued, so if they used it that month. So
Answer that question.
the sheriff, the auditor, the treasurer, the recorder, the veteran affairs director, what am I missing for departments? The assessor, conservation,
Planning and
every
zoning,
planning and zoning.
but they had theirs confiscated, didn't they? Jeff showed
Jeff.
me.
So that's separate.
Just curious.
Each department head probably has one already.
All right, item 5, updates on various boards and commissions and activities since the last meeting.
I attended the conservation meeting. It was a real brief meeting. They're doing some things coming up, mostly on the eastern part of the county. Kind of have a picnic tour type of thing, and sound pretty interesting. They're getting ready to take delivery of their pickup. That's talked about. Like I said, it was a real brief meeting, so that was kind of the highlights of that. So in the packet, there's some recap of things they've done too. So that's the only meeting.
I didn't attend any meetings, but I did watch some of the Iowa Utility Board meetings and Fort Dodge with the pipeline, and it's got a life of its own. It's pretty interesting what's going on. And so the other thing is, this isn't a result of a meeting, but the Floyd Mitchell Chickasaw County landfill, you're going to celebrate their 50th anniversary on the 23rd of this month. They have an open house and some food. If anyone wants to go up, take a tour of the site. So,
What day is that?
the 23rd.
I see.
Is there a time? We have a time for it.
Like from 10 in the morning till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I could look it up real quick, but something like that.
I also did not have a formal meeting outside of a regular board meeting since the last one. I do spend quite a little time listening to the IUB hearings. We get weekly updates from our legal counsel, Tim Whipple. We're also getting updates and summaries from people who were county inspectors, the general public. There's an awful lot going on there. I think it shows the value of intervening in this case, because the Floyd County Board of Supervisors were brought up by James Powell in the last meeting. He also discussed the Area Development Corporation site, and the only reason they're talking about that is because we're intervening and we're making presentations. So I think our presence is being felt there, and it's an important process. Lots going on in other states as well. South Dakota has denied Summit's permit. Summit has the motion that withdraws their, as I understand it, their preemption clause that they're stating that the county ordinances are preempted by federal legislation. They pulled that back because their permit has been denied in South Dakota. It's been denied in North Dakota. And I know on behalf of the counties, when the county itself, through Tim Whipple, will be presenting arguments regarding those ordinances, you're going to hear a lot about why we believe the counties have a right and it's not preempted. So it's pretty interesting that someone has withdrawn their belief that it's preempted in South Dakota. It's preempted there, not preempted here. So a lot going on there. It's like you said, it's got a life of its own, and I don't know where it's going. I'm just glad we're intervening on behalf of Floyd County and those people that still have stipulations. And that means they haven't signed a voluntary easement with some. Item 6, updates on law enforcement center courthouse project.
I'm
How's
still,
the AOC meeting going?
I'm still trying to find someone to repair the plaster and the old plaster in the courthouse that was damaged during construction. Having trouble finding someone to do that. I have a call in to Adams Drywall in Osage. I went to see Busty and Elma last week, and I have a call to Larry Walden and another. You know, I think somebody that can maybe do that. So, but I haven't heard back from Busty. Said they weren't interested, and I haven't heard from Adams or Larry Walden yet. So,
I did follow up with Hubert Electric, or Quay Construction, I should say, and with his wife, and she said he doesn't think he would do any plaster work.
Yeah.
She's gonna check with them, but doesn't think that.
it's kind of challenging because it's not drywall. It's old, 80 years old, and however they did it back then, and so
She mentioned if you wanted to take plaster off and put up drywall, he'd be the person probably to.
yeah. So that might be trouble. The reason we're having trouble finding somebody. You know, we have some carpet issues too, right? Well, yeah.
Carpet person is supposed to be coming this week.
Okay.
Look at some issues there. I did get an estimate. They dropped this off at my place on Saturday for the finishing the landscaping here, right here, I should say. And that is $3,930. That puts in 15 tons of river rock, puts a plastic edge around the areas where it's needed, puts the fabric underlayment for weed control, and leveling some dirt and labor. So I just got that on Saturday. I told them that they understood there wouldn't be any tax on there, so it's the $3,000.
So where's this company from?
This is a local person,
Okay.
Jose. Can't remember his last name. I butchered it, but I tried to say it. He used to work for Autos Oasis.
Okay.
And how much of the area
So it
does
would
the
do,
proposal have river rock on?
all of this area has river rock here, and then they would do work river rock here, and
Around the building.
around this part of the building from the entrance. They'd match it with that side of the building, and so it'd be just this area right here, not the larger section here is what still needs to be seeded yet. But this is just the river rock, and
Well, it'll be hard to keep that, to get grass growing there.
yeah, that's why it's river rock.
Right.
And it adds some dirt to that area there where the wall is. And then the custodians intend to put some hostas in that area. But they'll fill it with, they'll put the dirt in there that's needed and the barrier in the river rock, and then the custodians at a later point are gonna do some sort of planting in there.
Who is or when is this area going to be reseeded grass?
You know,
Who is doing that?
that is through Dean Schneider's, through Cole Excavating, which is a subcontractor of Dean Schneider. And they did the work over adjacent to the neighbor last week or maybe 2 weeks ago even. And so they're subbing someone else to do the seeding, the grass seeding. So I'll have to follow up with Jason to see when they're.
You having an OAC meeting today?
No, Jason, I talked to Jason. I met with Jason on Friday down in Des Moines after
Okay.
my meetings in Des Moines. And he's gonna push it to next Monday. I'll be with him today.
It's timely now.
I
Yeah.
think it will be, but I can follow up with when that grass seed is gonna happen.
All right.
It should be happening now. August 15th was the first day they could start again to get it under warranty. But I can follow up.
I noticed in the claims that we paid for the $2,900 bill for the clean out of that.
Yes.
And what's the resolution regarding the contractors that are involved in that?
Yes. So did you get any PCOs on
Say what?
that? Did you get any PCOs on that?
No.
Jason is reducing that. He's spreading it across the contractors that would have had any impact in that area over that drain, because it's hard to say it was one specific. It could have been, I don't think is going to do the window people, but Colas, it's going to be over Dean Schneider, Young Plumbing. I don't know if Paulson Electric is included in that, but he's spreading that as he's taken it out of their retainage, reducing their retainage, as well as we've had other claims like the damages that they did across the grass area over here, where John and Cody had to reseed and level the ground off because they had big holes in the ground from their trailers, killed grass, stuff like that. So that's also going to be reduced. And then actually just another one that came up, we have a paper folding machine, and when they would do work in the offices, they might get in the offices at 7 in the morning before anyone came to the office, and they'd start punching holes in walls and weren't covering our equipment or anything like that. And we have our paper folding machine that was full of plaster that we tried to clean out, and it's been kind of causing problems. We got it cleaned out as much as we could, and so I brought that up to Jason on Friday, showed him pictures of paper that are being twisted and torn going through the machine because there's still stuff in there. He said he will put that through as that's going to be either Young, Continental, Paulson, because all of them were doing plaster work without covering. And we said to them numerous times, you've got to cover up equipment when you're in these offices because we have equipment that's sensitive to that type of thing. So he's going to, whether it's a repair or a replacement, he's going to put that as a retainage as well, out of the retainage as well.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Sounds like the resolution that we were hoping for anyway to cover the cost of it.
Yes. But yeah, he did say we needed to pay that bill, and he's got the bill. I thought I saw something go through. I thought it was through a PCO. Those
It could have been, I
so,
can look it up and see.
So just to finish that discussion then was because we talked about there's still rocks there. Does that resolve that issue? Or there's still rocks in this line that we're going to be concerned about?
It's gonna be up to you guys if you want them to scope it more. And
They told us they didn't think it'd be a problem, right?
yeah, Mick Gage doesn't think it's going to be a problem. Bill from Nebraska thinks there shouldn't be any rocks in there. So I said last week, I think you guys are gonna have to make.
What's going to happen? We're going to call Mick Gage when the sewer line plugs up again, and at the worst time of the year, I want to be on the safe side of that one, and find a clean it out. I mean, I think it'd be, I don't think it's a good idea to leave rocks.
You don't want
in the
any
sewer
in there.
just because someone thinks that it might not be a problem.
To clean it, they have to dig it up, right?
I don't know if they could jet anything through there to get it to go to another takeout. They, from both of the takeouts, they've sucked everything they can get as far as they can suck out with their
Vacuum that
vacuum
machine.
thing, yeah. But I don't know, maybe it's getting a camera. Jim, I think you mentioned getting a camera
Yeah.
to look and see how much rock is in there so we can see.
I think that would show a lot. I've seen them cameras before. They're pretty handy.
Well, he did that.
Too hard, and just in
He
case.
did it.
They can go a long ways anyway.
To see where it was plugged.
Okay.
I don't know that they did their camera afterwards to see, but I can only assume that if McGage is making the statement that
Something left, they had to see
there's
it.
not enough to, they don't think it's enough to cause a problem, that they maybe did the camera again. Sure.
Not enough to cause a problem as an opinion. I would think 0 would be best.
Let's just make sure, because it could turn out to be the worst possible time and
January.
dig up things again, and then we still have a problem.
Yeah.
A bigger problem. I would just like to see him scope it again, and find out, and get it out of there if possible. All right?
Will do.
Okay, good. Is there anything else on the courthouse budget then?
This is Brandy, the assessor.
Yeah, okay, hello, Brandy.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. We are still having issues with our lights. So the light switch in the front does not always turn off the light. So on Friday, they were left on and because they wouldn't go off, and they ran all weekend. The opposite side of that is occasionally the timers do work, and then they shut off every 15 or 20 minutes if there's not enough movement in the office. So this time of year, Chris is out doing field work on most days. So every day when Caitlin goes to lunch, I'm probably going to have to make sure someone walks through the office every 20 minutes to keep the front lights on. The opposite happens is as I sit at my desk, if I don't get up from my desk every 20 minutes or so, the lights where I sit go off as well. So in talking with Gloria this last week, it sounds like there's some sort of regulation that requires us to have lights on a timer versus just letting us manage it with a light switch like we're capable of. But again, it's just a constant making sure the front lights are on so people know we're open, getting up from my desk to turn the lights on so I don't have to work in the dark. It's just a disruption that we shouldn't have to deal with.
Yeah, so my understanding is that there is a requirement for energy. We received grant money for an energy compliance. The building was designed for new switches in those areas where there was work to put energy conservation initiatives in there. So did you see anything of Paulson last week at all, Brandy?
Oh,
So I think Paulson is supposed to be coming again, but what Jason told us at the OAC meeting was there are these energy conservation practices that you have to put into place. We got a grant for it. But they said that once they've gone through, if we want to switch it to the traditional older way of doing things, nobody's going to be coming and checking that again. But what I'm hearing from Chris Ryder from Paulson Electric is that they are installed correctly, that if there's no activity, I think it's after 30 minutes, then they're going to shut off because that's what the design is to do. And he said part of the issue in the back part, which is a different sensor. So the front sensor, if Caitlin isn't in that area and nobody comes in the office, that's going to be an issue if there's no activity in 30 minutes. On the back part of the office is a different sensor. And it sounds like that shelving unit that Brandy put up between her and Chris is
It's
deteriorating.
actually just my desk.
Yeah.
The top of my desk is constructed that way.
Right, but it just has that higher
It can
unit.
be moved, yeah.
Yeah, it has that higher unit. And so it's not, that's blocking the sensor to see her moving at her desk. So that's not functioning. It's just not catching it because of the obstruction. The shelf itself, that back unit or above unit isn't moving. Chris said they could put another sensor, additional sensors in if we wanted that. Isn't that what he said at the OAC meeting?
Yep.
It could put additional sensors, but he was going to have, he said that he would have Chris Jensen come in and take a look at it one more time and see if there's anything that they can do.
Electrician, right?
No, Chris
That's
Jensen
Paul.
is, he's with,
You have
Oh.
one sensor that's the sensor for the front office. And sometimes, like I said, it's just strange because if we go to manually shut the light off, it won't shut off and then the lights stay on all weekend. But if there's no movement up there in the middle of the week, it will shut off. And then when we go to turn the light back on with movement, I mean, I've literally done jumping jacks under the sensor. Chris has jumped up and like physically covered and uncovered the sensor with his hands. And sometimes it takes 30 seconds to a minute to get the lights to turn back on with the sensor. The one in back, sometimes I just wave my arm past my desk. Sometimes I have to get up and walk over under the sensor. So it's like, if we had either or, it would probably be less aggravating, but it just seems like, and I know they're supposed to be set for 30 minutes, but I watched my clock last week when Caitlin went to lunch and it was 22 minutes after she left, the lights went off. But it just seems like all day, like today Chris has gone on vacation, so today I will have to get up from my desk or wave my arm or jump around every 30 minutes today. And that's a disruption when you're trying to get work done.
so I think it's just gonna be, does the county, well, I believe Chris Jensen was supposed to come. Maybe he got waylaid for whatever reason, didn't make it. But I know in past conversations with Chris Jensen, he said there's nothing else that can be done. I don't understand the different sensors that were put in. The sensor in the assessors and county, or excuse me, the sensor in the assessor's office is different than the switches, I should say, is different than the switches in, say, county social services or DA. You've got like a physical light switch, right, Brandy, on your
Okay,
wall?
yep, it's like, it looks like a traditional light switch, but
Yeah.
it feels different when you switch it.
Yeah,
But I understand, like Todd Shriver said last week, the department head meeting, he has buttons where he can choose to like turn them on, turn them off permanently, or put them on a timer. So he has the option to override that timer, and we don't.
but I do think this is an issue, not just in the assessor's office. It seems like different times I've gone by the OAC room and those lights seem to be on, and I'm not sure why those lights are on all the time, because that room should have minimal activity unless there's a meeting. So I think it's a bigger,
I'd be inclined to think, put traditional light switches in so they can turn them off and on. I mean,
I'm
keep it
sure there's no
simple.
follow-up to the grant.
And you're
but
indicating that this Chris Jensen, is he from
He's from Paulson
Paulson
Electric.
Electric?
Yeah.
Is coming, probably hasn't been here, but you believe he doesn't have a solution to it.
From past conversations, I don't think he's gonna have a solution other than putting additional sensors in or doing what Jason from Samuel's group says, putting,
Traditional switches. Right?
yeah,
Turn the light on, it
Yeah.
goes on.
yeah. So I
Well, why don't
think
we hear
Paulson is
from-
either
From
additional
him,
switches.
Paulson, definitively, if there is a solution to adjustment, or if they have to have switches, and then make a decision regarding how best to operate in the assessor's office. How's that, Brandon?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
I still wanted to get Let's Go, because we've been fighting this since January 15th or so when we moved in the office.
And there's
Understood.
been issues in the small courtroom, and like I say, I believe in the EOC.
Chair.
I just think, I agree with Dennis. I would guess it's gonna fall on, the cost will fall on us and it won't be covered by the previous.
Paulson says they put it in per Prohaska specifications in the plans, even the types of light switches.
If we put traditional switches in, that's our bill, unfortunately.
And we supposedly lose our energy conservation that government buildings are supposed to comply to.
Chair.
Well, that was one of the, one of the things that was talked about when this building got built, is we were gonna save money on energy efficiency. And this is one of those type of things. So it's disappointing that it's not really working as planned. Because it's like anything else, that was what it's designed to do. Yeah.
So next week, Jason said he's going to see if he can get Bill Huey to come here and look at all these issues as well as to why
Right.
things aren't. So that is on the list of things for next week, as well as
Right.
many other issues we have. We have a laundry list of issues that are,
Okay,
to me, not satisfactory.
yes, Chair recognizes Jay Jones.
I know you guys weren't here when this happened, but why would it not be done uniformly across the board? So if you've got one room that's got a switch that you can manually use or put a timer on, why would it be different in another room across the whole board? I mean, if it's all part of a grant, wouldn't it all be the same thing? Then to me, that's their bill and pay deal, because I mean, if you've got 10 different systems, why would you do that?
So the part was the rooms that they touched, they put the energy efficient practices in those rooms. But why one room is different than another
Right.
room?
So to me, that would be a uniform thing across the board, and if it wasn't, then to me, that's their problem. I mean, they should have made that uniform, because it makes sense to have an override switch, and it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but it is. And I know, like in our gym, we have automatic lights down there, and you can adjust the timers on those to make those stay on longer or shorter, or however you want to do it.
They supposedly, in Brandy's office, they're supposedly set the longest length that they will shut off. That they'll shut off if there's no activity. Problem is, they've got such a long, in Brandy's office, it's such a long area.
Right.
They've got two different sensors.
I'm just curious why it just wouldn't have been uniform across the board.
I think we'll realize a lot more in kind of this next meeting. We're gonna get this
Yeah.
resolved. Yep, and I think we got a decision to make and an idea, just return to the manual switches, if that's gonna be the best resolution
In that office.
in that item. Anything further on that item? If not, we'll go to item 7. The review action regarding appointment of Floyd Township trustees. After the last meeting of the Floyd Township trustees, there was the resignation of 2 trustees, Dwayne Fultz, Elvin Zimmerman, and the township clerk, Teresa Stewart, submitted her resignation, which leaves the 3-member board inoperable to do business. One of the members is here, that's Jay Jung. And we look into the code, stipulates that if the offices of 2 trustees are vacant, the county board of supervisors shall fill the vacancy by appointment. And that's the case that we've had now. Their resignations were effective September 1st. So we don't have a full slate of office holders in Floyd Township. So that's why this is on our agenda. That's why Jay is here. So there are 2 vacancies. Are there any one to consider about that? Are there any names?
I don't have any names at this time. I was just
I
looking.
do have a couple names for you.
The minutes, and there's a few names in there. That might be interested, but I'd be interested to hear others.
No, I haven't contacted anyone regarding that.
Chatfield may be interested.
He is,
Is
and
that
he said
one
he would
of
be,
your-
that's one of the ones that I had talked to. and
Okay,
asked if he had any
we'll
interest.
recognize Jay John. You're the existing trustee, so have you contacted someone or? who
So
is it?
I was appointed chair at that last meeting, and then after that, then received the resignations, and so met with Gloria. Let's see, that was Thursday before Labor Day weekend, and Tuesday after Labor Day, I met with Gloria, and we kind of got a plan of action of what we needed to do at this point as far as that goes. So I went to the bank with the minutes and got all the bank accounts switched to my name temporarily here with the CDs and the money and all that stuff. Went to Stacy Ackerson's office and got the insurance policy switched over to be sent to my address instead. And once we get the clerk set up, or we figure out a clerk situation, obviously, then we'll be putting them on and getting some of this stuff routed through that person. I spoke to Luke Chatfield briefly, asked him if he had any interest. He was a write-in candidate in the last ballot, or the last election, and had several votes. Asked him if he was interested. He spoke to his wife, said yes, he is interested in that spot. So he was one person that I'd spoken to. I'd also spoken to Ryan Richardson. He lives over by west of the ethanol plant, just in Floyd Township as well. He also said he would be interested in a spot. So not that you have to pick those people, but I have talked to a couple people that said they were interested. I did reach out to a person on the clerk spot to see if there was any interest there, and they were kind of on the fence. There was a couple other names that I thought might be possibilities as well. But those are the folks that I know that I've talked to or had some interaction with that said that, yes, they have some interest in doing it and would do it if need be. So.
Let's do my ballot candidates.
If we appoint one trustee and then those two can appoint the third one, right?
Okay, that would be a question for Gloria if that's how that exactly works. Because like I said, I just went on as a trustee in the last election cycle. So, like I said, I'm kind of catching up here to myself. So
when you read this code section, it reads like the supervisor should be the ones appointing the two trustees. But I have talked to other counties who have said in a similar situation that their supervisors have appointed one, and then the trustees, since now they had a majority of trustees, the majorities could appoint the third. So I didn't have any time. I was gone Thursday and Friday to talk with the county attorney to see if that's a viable option or not. But I know if there was just one vacancy, the two remaining township trustees would appoint the third trustee. So it seems like a reasonable thing, but that section 69.85B looks like it's up to the supervisors to do that appointment. That's in your packet as well.
And the vacancy that occurred on September 1st this year.
Well, the trustees were August 31st. The clerk was September 1st.
Correct.
Will the trustees appoint a new clerk then if you get?
yeah, certainly will. Once we get things done, and obviously that clerk, like I said, usually keeps the meeting minutes and then typically works with the auditor's office on the budget stuff. They've got reports, that are due, fiscal reports due every year. And so, like I said, it's going to be a little bit of something for all of us. It's just a little bit of a new thing, but we'll work through it and get it kind of figured out. So I think we were kind of going through stuff, just there was a few things that on the budgetary stuff that we need to get somebody appointed, because there's going to be some corrections to some of the fiscal reports we need to go in and fix. Nothing, I mean, that's just a matter of like process and how things were done. We just need to make a couple fixes to that. So we have to redo some financial reports on that.
And then for whichever appointment you're doing, Dwayne Foles's appointment was, he just got elected last November to a 4-year term. So you would be appointing to 2024's next general election. And then that would be a vacancy on that ballot. Alvin Zimmerman's term ends 12/31/2024. So that if you are, depending on which appointment if you're going to do one or two appointments, you need to your appointment needs to be specific to which term they're filling, either Dwayne's or Alvin's. And
So when does all these expire?
Alvin's is 2024.
He was up in the next election cycle.
Right, he would be on the
Dwayne,
ballot.
I just went on in the last one.
So they both are 2024?
No, Dwayne's is not. His
Dwayne's
is not.
is a 4-year term. Like he's not quite filled 1 year of the 4 years. So his will be a vacancy on the November 2024 ballot. Alvin will fill that term, or whoever gets Alvin's position, whoever wins in November, starts right then and serves the 2 years through December 4 years for Elvin's term after that. So they're actually 4 years and a month and a half.
Right, so, yeah, so Dwayne's and mine would end in 2027 and
2026.
2026.
Yeah.
And then the next one would be 2028, right?
So it's after the canvass of the election, whatever appointments were made they start in that November, their first meeting after November, after the canvass of the election. So they don't have a January 1 start. They have
Correct.
a November
They
following.
need to fill out application like we've had in some other, or we just
This is kind of new territory. We've never
never done that.
do that for regular board appointments that you make. This is not a regular board appointment that you make.
I know school board, when I filled in for Al Bodie that time, they were appointing me for that short period of time until the next election. Then I had to fill out my papers if I wanted to run again and do all that. But for that period of time, they just interviewed me and appointed me, and there was really no paperwork to fill out.
It's kind of new territory.
And how soon did you say you got it?
Well, we need by September 30th, we have to make some corrections to that fiscal report because the timing of a check that was written.
Yeah.
The fire department was not written on the right date. So it fell into the previous year's budget year. Well, that doesn't work because then that means we overspent in that year because the check was written too early on that date. So we need to fix that. So that it's
Unfortunately,
correct.
you can't change that.
Right, you can't change it.
That is what happens.
Right.
You can't change anything with that.
So we have to try to get that straightened out though. And I have talked to the fire department a little bit about what we talked about. And they sounded like they were patient, fine with that. And so we just bookwork mostly.
So Jay, in your conversations, did you talk to Luke Chatfield?
Yes.
Will he accept the
Yes,
appointment?
he will. Yep.
So the way I'm kind of reading the code and trying to understand this, we have not only the two trustees, we have the clerk who's also vacant.
Correct.
So I think it'd be a good idea to consult with the county attorney regarding, we could make an appointment today with Luke Chatfield. That would give you two trustees.
Correct.
You still don't have a clerk.
Well, yeah,
we
I
end
we'll
up
find a
with-
clerk.
They do the clerk though. I don't think you do the clerk appointment.
We will appoint the clerk, but if you give me another trustee, then we can at least hold a meeting. And then,
That's what I was getting.
yeah, go through the
getting
process
to.
of
They can do that
getting
once
that
they,
caught up.
okay,
So,
I see what you're saying.
I think
Yeah,
if they
that's
get
the
their
question.
majority, they could
All right,
pursue their.
all right, that provides a little clarity to me regarding what's in the code section.
the biggest thing is just that deadline on September 30th that Gloria and I had talked about is that we just need to have a meeting before that date so that we can, like I said, get a few things straightened out. And it just has to be done by September 30th. So, and I'm gone 3 days next week, so time's getting shorter.
All right, is there a motion to appoint Luke Chatfield?
In which term?
Can we not this term?
Sure, you got a question?
I just think that, seems how Jay's taking the lead here, and he's talked to these two people, Luke and this
Ryan Richardson.
Ryan. Why not just appoint both of them? They're willing to
I don't
serve.
think he talked to Ryan. I think
I
he
did
talked
talk to Ryan. I have talked to Ryan too. I've
I
talked to
thought you
both.
said you talked to Ryan's wife.
No, Luke Chatfield said he needed to talk to his wife to make sure she was
Okay.
good with it. Yes, so no, I talked to Luke and I talked to Ryan. They both said they're willing to serve.
So it seems to me like he's got two people that are willing to do this. Not everybody's jumping out of the woodwork to be
No,
on a
they're not.
trustee. In order for him to get Floyd Township back on the ball and get rolling, I would appoint both of them gentlemen.
And I would recommend you appoint Luke for the Dwayne's term, longer term, and I would appoint Ryan for Alvin's term. That's what I would
It
recommend.
seems like Jay's got enough information here. I think you can make a sound judgment.
And they're both eligible.
Yep.
I mean, I know Luke is, but I
Yep.
don't know the other person that he's
Yeah, he lives,
eligible.
he lives in Bill Vedder's old place is where he lives, on March Avenue. He's right on the edge over there of Floyd Township in the western half. I'm in the far eastern half, he's in the western half, and Luke's about right in the middle.
I'll make a motion to appoint Ryan Richardson to the Zimmerman term and Luke Chatfield to Dwayne Foles' term as Floyd Township trustees.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Supervisor Dorgan to appoint two trustees,
Ryan Richardson and Luke Chatfield.
Ryan Richardson and Luke Chatfield. And Auditor Carr, you got down which
Yeah.
appointments they are
Ryan to
to
Albert.
fill.
Yes.
Well, it
You
sounds
might
like
just wanna
it's
put in there,
a-
just put in there, and I would probably put something in that motion too, to the effect of just, eligibility wise too, because we'll go through and double check that to make sure, so that gives you, I mean, they're both eligible, but I just would make sure that you have that in there, that it's vetted by whoever vets everyone.
So I have to sign an oath
Right,
of office.
right,
that
okay.
says they
Yep,
are.
that's fine.
Once they do that,
Yep.
yeah. So, we have a motion and a and a second, further discussion. Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, have two trustees.
Great,
Good luck.
yep, thanks.
You bet.
Lori, I'll get with you and figure out a time for a meeting, and we'll do it up in the office so we can rectify all the numbers and books.
Sounds good.
So, and I'll find a clerk somewhere.
All right, Item 8, review of the Floyd County Conservation Board annual report. Is Adam here to talk to us about that, or you're on the phone, Adam?
This might have been one we may have been able to take off the agenda. Maybe they just send that to the supervisors, but I got included on it. So maybe it's just, if he's not available, maybe it's just noting the receipt of it.
All right,
Unless
well,
you
it's
have
a lengthy report. It talks about all the work that they've been doing on a monthly basis, all the properties that they manage and own. And it's a lengthy report regarding their annual the work that they do on an annual basis. Supervisor Jorgensen, do you have anything to add regarding this? You're our liaison on that board.
I don't. I started being part of that in January. So there's a lot there that I read that I'm learning what they do too. But seems like they got a good group that works well together. And I was able to meet the new hire too. I should have stated that in my previous comment. Seems like a very capable individual too. So they do have a lot more properties to keep track of than I realized.
All right, any comments?
Question for Jim. The new employee lives in that home on Jasonic.
Yeah, I believe it's a Ranger.
Yeah.
Ranger. Yeah.
A nice guy.
Yep, I met him, I think, briefly.
All right, we'll just consider that the annual Floyd County Conservation Board report is filed and reviewed. Next item, number 9, review and action regarding Alice Cooney invoices for professional services and payment by American Rescue Act Plan funds. There were 3 invoices sent in. One amount of $1,365 for pipeline and right-of-way ordinances. You look in the back of that, those are dealing with, that went back all the way to August. In large part calls with me about the ordinance development, question about the ADC. The second one was the one that was shared with, we have 14% of that, and that's due to the intervention services through August 15th. Floyd County share that is $4,026.42. And then there's one for Navigator. It's a complete breakdown of where all that comes from and why. And then there's the Navigator case, which there is a total amount of $1,260 on the invoice, and our portion of that is $179.93. We're getting into the meat of the intervention right now. I think these are things that we build up to, and I think our council is doing a very good job representing us in the intervention questions to the other intervening parties. And you'll soon hear from our witnesses regarding things like the ordinance and other things. So it's a timely matter. It's going to go on for a while. I think they're well served.
Do we have a total on what we've spent with them to date, for the pipeline Ayers Cooney?
What I've sent to you after the last reading,
Yeah,
this is added onto that, so
that's,
I haven't added to that.
okay.
I can look that email up.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number.
Is there a motion to approve the charges?
I'll make a motion.
And-
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
And one other comment too, it was brought to my attention, someone asked me if, like when you attend, is the county paying mileage for you to attend these meetings?
When I went down as a guest of Tim Fox, yes, to the area development hearing in Fort Dodge, yes. They paid me mileage to go down there.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only two questions I had.
I'll make a motion to approve the Ayers County bill. $1,365, $4,026.42, $179.93.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgens, a second by Kiefer to pay the 3 invoices from Allers and Cooney for the representation in the pipeline matters. Is there further discussion? Any comments from anyone listening on the phone? Chair recognizes Gordy Foggy.
The majority of the public out here in Floyd County supports having representation at these meetings. I know there's a few people that have said to me, you know, why are we spending money there? But the majority of the people I talk to are in favor of having representation to protect our county rights. That's all I need to say.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried.
Do you have an updated number if you want it?
Item 10, review action regarding Drainage District 3 assessment. Auditor Carr, we were presented with all this regarding way back to resending the motion in 2020. Please review this agenda item for us.
Yes, okay, so there was work done in 2019 on the project. And that's when we discovered we didn't think we had it. We didn't have a good schedule for assessing. And everyone at that time was assessed in the district for that work. So there was work done on the main, there was one claim for work done on the main and lateral G and lateral 11, another work order for work done on lateral G, and another one for the main and lateral G. So at the time, the Board of Supervisors made motions to do the assessment. And it was after that we to do the assessments as a whole to all of the property owners. And it was after that when we said we just don't feel like we have a good schedule to work with. So after the schedule got approved this year by the Board of Supervisors, we were looking at doing these assessments per that schedule. These assessments were paid out of the main. The stamp warrants were issued out of the main. Secondary Roads did all 3 work orders for the work being done. Amanda met with Secondary Roads, and there was one of the laterals that they couldn't, the tile was the same size tile, so they weren't sure how much was for the lateral and how much was for the main. So they couldn't split that out for us. So what our recommendation is to do is, since this was before there was a request for work to be done in the ditch, everyone was going to be paying the bill under the old schedule, but it was a poor old schedule. What we're recommending well, they did one assessment for work order 945. They did an assessment, 945 and 960, they did an assessment for $2,000. For another work order, they did an assessment for $5,000. And for an additional work order, they did an assessment of $2,300. So a total of $9,300 was the assessment that the supervisors ordered at that time. The total amount of repairs was $6,283.82. So the intent of that was to have some, usually they'll assess a little higher, so they have some money for future assessments so they don't have to assess as frequently. So because of, I put my comments in here, I can read those comments if you'd like, or I can just read the recommendations if you'd rather hear just that. I think the comments are kind of, I've already talked about most of those. My recommendations are that you rescind the last motion that was made on November 24th, 2020 to assess $2,300 to District 3 due to that assessment not being necessary since a larger project was subsequently ordered after that, which is what Bolton and Mink has been working with. So instead of us assessing $9,300, we would just be assessing the first two assessments of $2,000 and $5,000. And then reaffirm that that $7,000 would go to all of the property owners based on what, on the entire schedule, since we don't have information to clarify what work secondary roads did to which lateral in Maine and that type of thing. And since it was, no work was ordered originally, that the big project, that it just be assessed to all property owners like it would have been at that time if we had a accurate schedule. And so that would, those $7,000 in assessments, the $2,000 and the $5,000 assessment, if there were any landowner had an assessment of $500 or more, that the original order was that they could spread that over 10 years at 5%. So that would be what my recommendation would be there. My second recommendation would be that due to the delay in assessing the property owners, I would recommend that the supervisors make a motion to order the county treasurer to waive any interest on those 6 warrants, that stamp warrants that were listed there, that all interest be waived through June 30th, 2023, and that there's only interest that starts July 1 on those assessments. We had our schedule by that time, our schedule at that time, but it's but everything is issued out of that main open main ditch where everyone gets assessed based on that schedule for the $7,000.
Discussion from the board. You understand what's happened here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think so. It goes back 3 years, right, or 4 years, so.
So we'd be waiving any interest, or my recommendation that is waive any interest on the 6 stamped warrants. And that's just an order by you to the treasurer by motion to do that. Everything, all those 6 stamped warrants were paid out of that original main fund that everyone is assessed on. The work that secondary roads did after that, after a project was ordered by the prior supervisors, those were, the secondary roads just held on to those and those bills until the new schedule came out. So those were very clear that they were laterals, or those we've already done assessments on June 30th. We did our 26th or something like that. In June 23, we did those assessments based on the new schedule. But these were prior to any project. And so that's why my recommendation there is to keep them under the main. We can't reissue warrants. If we reissue warrants, then we show we have double revenues because one warrant has to pay off another warrant. Auditors don't like that double revenue picture. Messes things up. Mark Dennis has something.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just
This interest that's asking to be waived hasn't been paid then yet, right?
It's accruing on the stamped warrants because the stamped
Right.
warrants haven't been paid because we haven't assessed because we didn't have a schedule to assess to until the schedule you all approved.
It's kind of confusing to me personally, but
Clear as mud.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, I mean, the property owners aren't paying interest on those stamped warrants.
Okay.
That's the part of that there, except till July 1 when you had a good schedule. So there's a little bit of interest that the county will get on those warrants until the assessments are paid. And then Jesse can redeem the stamped warrants. So it's basically they don't have there's no interest on a bill that the district pays from 2019 to where otherwise Jesse's been accruing that interest as a receivable to the county.
If we don't follow through with your recommendation, what's the other option?
The trustees, or the drainage district gets assessed for interest on those warrants back to the issue dates. So the January 19, May of 19, June of 20, and November of 20. So we're just waiving, or my recommendation is the assessment schedule didn't get done until the new schedule just got completed. You just approved that since you've been here. You didn't have a good schedule. The state of Iowa wasn't assessed enough. The old schedule had where some property owners, maybe they had 40 acres, but the assessment schedule was saying they had 41 or 42 or some odd number of acres. So how could we assess them for more acres than what their property was? And so that's why we ordered to the supervisors, or asked of the supervisors to do a new schedule on that, because and so the engineer prior to Dusty, I'm sure was trying to make a good effort to not go to the cost of doing a reclassification. And so he made adjustments, but the adjustments have to match the original schedule unless you do a reclassification. And so that's where where this came through. When the Avenue of Saints went through, there wasn't enough attributed to say the state of Iowa. And so along that corridor, property owners had bigger assessments than they would have had bigger assessments than they should have had because of the schedule, because of what the engineer at that time presented.
Merlin Schweizer, have a comment?
So what you're saying, Gloria, is the $2,300 was done in 20, right?
Yes.
And the other two bills were done in 23.
19.
They were done in 19.
Yes. These were done January 22nd, 2019, and May 14th, 2019, and June 23rd, 2020. There were assessments after that, but the secondary roads held those bills. And because their prior supervisors ordered a reclassification, so they just held on to those.
So in 20, where was the work done?
In 20, okay, so in 2000, in May 14th, 2019 was when the first one was issued for work orders 945 and 960. 945 was for the main and lateral G, and that's the one where the engineer's office said the tile was the same size tile, so they don't know how much tile was attributed to G, and they don't know how much tile was attributed to the main. And also, that assessment included work order 960, which was lateral 11 for $268.37.
There is no lateral G.
Yeah, there's a lateral G.
Where's lateral G located? They're all numbered.
No, they're letters. There's letters, and there's even a Jorgensen tile.
Yeah.
There's a Jorgensen tile, yes, but on the laterals that all go to the main or into the ditch, they're all numbered. They will have lateral 7A, 7B if there's more laterals on that one lateral.
I can pull it up for you.
Isn't there 12 laterals in that district, Merlin?
There's 12 on the main ditch.
For the main ditch, yes.
There's multiple laterals though. Let's see. I'm gonna use it searchable here. There's a lateral G, a lateral G1, and a lateral G2, I believe.
Yeah, there's a lateral G that ties into the main line.
Was it okay with that?
It'd be just northwest of the Blue Ditch. And then there's also lateral E that ties into the main as well.
There's, if you want to come up and look at the map, you can come up and look at the map.
There right there, G. Right before the ditch. That's the main.
If you guys want to see it. This is lateral G, this is lateral G1,
These
this is lateral G, oh, G1A and G1.
Go back up to the top of that.
See,
That's the avenue up there, right?
Yes, yes.
so them laterals go on, Kurt Marsh ground.
I don't,
Okay, that's where them laterals go. And they were done in 20, and you can only keep the ones for 2 years. They have to be paid for every 2 years. You have to assess them out. Every 2 years, they have to be assessed.
yeah, and that's why the assessment schedule was ordered, and we didn't get it until last year.
But they should have been assessed before that, to the whole main ditch or whatever.
Didn't have a good schedule to assess to Merlin.
They should have been shown the whole, to everybody.
That's what we're asking now, is to rescind the motion of the one and reaffirm that
So you're gonna assess
seven-
them according to where they go then.
whereas, no, like they were to the new, like they are to the new schedule, but to everyone, because that's what the schedule was at that time.
So in other words, you have to assess them out because they're over 2 years old. You cannot carry them over.
Property owners have to be assessed anyway. It's their bill.
Now you gotta send bills out. Because
Right.
You can't carry them over 2 years.
Well, this is going to take care of it.
So this is gonna take care of it.
This takes care of it.
One question I have, the charges of interest starting on July 1st. It's September 11th. How about we start the interest as of current instead of July 1st, some date that we had, because if we had, why didn't we bring it up on July 1st?
I don't care when you want to start. It makes no difference to me. I don't remember
Why
what
didn't
date
you
it
bring
was.
it up, Lori, back in July instead of now?
I had a conversation with Supervisor Kuhn about this. I don't remember what date you approved the schedule.
Okay.
I mean, you can go back to the date you approved the schedule, which was, I can pull that up.
Well, what I'm getting at is it's an issue now, not when we approve the schedule. So I understand pretty well the situation, I believe. It's unusual, but I think it'd be better to start charging the interest effective current date instead of a date in the past.
Perfectly fine. It's not that much. It's on $7,000 or on $6,200. It's 2.5 months interest. It's not that much.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Merlin?
But does it, all the landowners have a chance to pay the bill before any interest is put on them?
So when stamped warrants are issued, the interest on the stamped warrants starts at the time those bills are paid. That's a 5% interest rate because those people got paid. So the holder of the stamped warrant gets accrued interest from when those warrants get issued. The other type of interest that I think sometimes gets confusing is if the supervisors do the $500 spread, if they have assessments over $500 and they do spread over 10 years, that interest starts from their assessment when they sign that waiver of interest. That interest is also set at 5% for waivers on assessments, not interest on stamped warrants.
But that doesn't give the landowners any chance to pay the bill without paying any interest. So
That's normal. That's why the supervisors do assessments more than what the actual stamped warrant is issued at, or so that there is I should say, just like the supervisors did a $9,300 assessment on $6,283 in expenses, so that there's money in the fund. But if there's no money in the fund, that's where stamped warrants get issued, and stamped warrants have an interest rate set on them.
that doesn't give me as a landlord a chance to pay the bill without paying any interest on it.
That's correct.
And that ain't the way it should be, because you
But
have
so think of
30
it
days,
this
you
way.
have 30 days from the time you get a bill to send the bills out for me to come in and pay my bill without charging me interest.
So think of this project that's been going on over a year. There's stamped warrants that have been paid for $5,000 because there's not hundreds of thousands of dollars in there. So think of it this way, that you get to keep your money invested however you invest your money, instead of paying it and letting it sit in a fund that the county holds on behalf of the
That
district.
has nothing to do with that. That has to do, when you get a bill, you have 30 days to pay it. You need to send bills to me and everybody on the landowner so they can come in and pay it. So
That's
they
not correct,
Yes, it
Merlin.
is.
On this project, we'd be sending notices since a year ago when they started paying Bolton and Mink for the work that's being done. When there is a project, you don't pay until the project is complete. You don't
Yeah,
assess
you gotta
till the
assess
project
them out every 2 years, no matter if the project's complete or not.
it will be done in 2 years. So, I mean, this is the best resolution that you have, because my predecessors, the engineers' predecessors, maybe didn't necessarily do a just job on doing a good schedule. Do you think it would be appropriate for me to assess someone for 41 acres when they only have 40 acres?
But you've done it before over the years.
No, but maybe been 1 or 2 assessments on drainage 3.
Well, but that's what you've done, so.
But I assessed on the schedule that we had, and everyone paid for on that schedule. every property across that from Rudd to Valero paid for work done, regardless if they benefited or not. So I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I didn't create the situation, I'll say that. Amanda and I have spent hours trying to review this schedule that was there back in 2019 and 2020. And you could go back in minutes and you could see where we said, we don't believe we have a good schedule.
All right, so this is the best effort attempt to clear it up to this date. And not charge landowners interest until a certain time. Gordon,
Did secondary roads do all this work, or was there a private contractor involved?
Secondary roads did
Did all of
these
that?
projects as well as projects after that they held onto the bills without getting paid.
Seems to me like we're drinking up something that's pretty old. Should have been taken care of.
Didn't have a good schedule to take care of. And again, I in my right mind couldn't assess someone for 41 acres when they only had 40 acres.
And how long are you gonna carry this on? It should have been taken care of.
It was taken care of when the reclassification schedule was done, was approved by the Board of Supervisors.
Seems like we're taking up some stuff that's way past the statute of limitations here.
But it's a drainage district bill. It's not the taxpayers of Floyd County's bill.
It should have been paid. It should have been taken care of and it should have been paid.
Secondary roads got paid.
where we're at today is where we're at.
Yeah.
It's an attempt to clear it up at this time. And I see that as, if there's further discussion on the mechanics of how to do that, this kind of back and forth can go on a while. I just don't see it changing. And this is a way to clear it up and get us up to where we should be. Yes.
You can't ignore it. Something has to be done, right?
It's a bill in the drainage district that's got stamped warrants issued that are drainage district bills. So the drainage district has to pay for work done in their district. And as trustees of the drainage districts, it's your obligation to make sure that the bills get paid and make sure that the property owners get assessed.
The bills have been paid, but the owners haven't been assessed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so I don't see any choice, I guess.
I don't either.
Consider a motion then.
Spoke about changing the interest to,
But the September 1st? September current? Because we're taking care of it today?
Probably easier for the treasurer by month end, by September 1, because they do their accruals based on end of month balances. Or if you want to do October 1st.
You want to set it first for September or October? Up to you.
I'll make a motion to,
First I'm looking to rescind, yeah.
pardon me?
First for rescind.
I'll make a motion to rescind the motion made on 11/24/2020 to assess $2,300 Drainage District number 3. And waive the interest.
But the interest is on, not on the assessments, but on the warrants, so that's the next motion.
Okay, so that's
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate. Let's do two motions.
Two motions.
Yeah, so your first-
What's going on.
So if you go by the recommendations, you're reaffirming the $7,000. You're sending the one assessment, reaffirming the $7,000 assessment, the $5,000 and the $2,000 assessments.
Go ahead, restate it.
Yeah,
One at a time. then.
I'll make a motion to rescind the motion made on 11/24/2020 to assess $2,300 to Drainage District 3.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, to rescind the motion made on 11/24/2020 to assess $2,300. Further discussion. Never rescinded the motion 3 years ago, but I understand why it's necessary. But it's clearly should have been taken care of, but it wasn't. So it's in our lap to do now. Any further comments? Anyone listening on the phone have a comment? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion to rescind the November 24, 2020 motion to assess $2,300 to Drainage District 3, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Now entertain a motion waiving interest on the $5,000 and $2,000 assessments from the claim date, which was back in uh, 19.
Well,
Claim date is
there's
2 of them, 2019, 2020, through what date? Or
Number 1,
make a motion, whatever.
is one of them dates of 11/1 or 1/22/19 and the other one 5/14/19?
That's the assessment dates, the claim dates, the issues, the warrant, stamped warrants were issued is this column. So there were stamped warrants issued on 4 different dates.
Okay. I'll make a motion to waive the interest. And then charged for $5,000, $2,000 assessments from the claim date through.
Can I just stop it? It's
Yeah.
not for the assessment, it's for the amount of the warrant issued. That's what's getting interest on it, is the $2,000 and the $190.72. That's the stamped warrant date of November 24th. So interest on these warrants on these dates, not assessments, because it's not been assessed. I mean, it's not the assessment, it's the warrant. It's not assessments interest, it's stamped warrants interest.
But you need those numbers from the motion.
It's in these dates, not these dates.
Yeah, issued dates,
Warrants issued dates.
which would be 11/22/19 and 5/14/19, correct?
And 6/23/2020 and 11/24/2020.
Oh, all of them.
Yes, you're waiving interest on all of those stamped warrants that were issued that the county is holding.
Okay, you want them all in the motion? The dates?
You just say from the issue date of the warrants, of the stamped warrants, to whatever date. We can, the outstanding stamped warrants to the issue date. To the, whatever date you're picking, September 1st, October 1st, July 1st, whatever date you're picking. From issue date of stamped warrants to whatever date you want to get.
I'll make a motion to waive the interest from the issue dates of the stamped warrants. June 30th.
Do you want June 30th or do you want later, like Mark talked about?
I'll make a motion to waive the interest rates from the issue date of the stamped warrants to September 1.
So we're waiving interest for 3 or 4 years, is that right?
You're waiving interest on these stamped warrants till September 1st.
I'll second.
We have a motion waiving the interest on stamped warrants of $5,000 and $2,000 assessment from.
It's not on those assessments, it's on these stamped warrants. These are where they're getting the 5% interest on, them, not assessments. Stamped warrants.
So why does it say assessment on the agenda?
Is, well. Oh, and it's interest on these stamp warrants is what you're wanting to waive. What's in this?
It's kind of confusing, though, when we look at the.
Yeah, if you don't understand assessments versus stamped warrants, I think it's confusing and I have it not worded well on the agenda.
All right, Supervisor Jorgensen has a motion. And you were in the process of seconding that.
You have a question from,
Well, let's just get the second done so we have something on the floor to talk about further.
yeah, second.
All right, we have a motion by Jorgensen, second by Keeper to waive the interest on the stamp warrants from issued on 11/24/2020, 1/22/2019, 5/14/2019, and 6/30/2020 through September 1st, 2023. Further discussion. Gordon Bogey.
Are you gonna bill individual property owners now?
The $7,000. They waived the motion to bill the property owners on the 2,300. So now we have 2 billings that we can do for 5,000 and 2,000.
So all the property owners in District 3 are gonna get a bill. Okay. Don't you think that's gonna take a little explaining when they're paying a bill back from 2019?
Yeah, probably. And they have.
I would think, and another thing, now that you just passed the fact that you're gonna clean up District 3, these people are gonna get a bill and they're gonna say, what's this for? Is this for what we're getting done now, or is this what happened 4 years ago?
That's the way it works.
just-
It's an item on our agenda today, and it wasn't before, so I don't know how they.
When are you gonna invoice these landowners?
Whenever Amanda can get to it.
I would waive the interest till December 1st.
We already have a motion on the floor for September 1st. It's been moved and seconded, so that's what we're discussing right now. Yes,
But that was my point. The landowner should have a chance to pay the bill with no interest, without being assessed for that interest
So it's,
before it ever starts. They should have it, just like on this
so
this new project we're doing, they should have a chance to come in and pay their portion without no interest.
how do you expect people to get paid that are doing work if there's no money in the drainage fund? They're expected to get interest on the stamped warrants. So
They get paid by warrants. They don't get paid on interest. They get paid on.
they are, if they're holding a stamped warrant, because that stamped warrant, they can't cash that check. They can't cash a check, stamped cash warrant or stamped warrant until there's money in the fund to cover the warrant. So that's why there's interest on stamped warrants. So until an assessment is done, the holder of a stamped warrant can't redeem it. So you're just asking someone to do work for you on the current project. Bolton and Mink and the attorneys, people have been paid for the new project that's going on, but you don't do an assessment until the project is completed. So there's interest on all the stamped warrants that you all have approved to be paid in your processes. Today you did a stamped warrant. Right here you did a stamped warrant. Somebody's getting interest on this. Holder of the stamped warrant is getting interest on this until the warrant can be redeemed. They're not gonna do work for nothing. I mean, Gordy, if you're trucking for somebody and they don't have money to pay you, are you gonna, if they don't pay something for a year or two?
I don't let anybody ride since 2019, I can tell you that. That's my problem with this. The statute of limitations are over, but go ahead.
But how is the district going to pay for it then? If there's no money in there?
This should have been done a long time ago.
But
That's my
regardless, it's
point.
still interest on a stamped warrant. But they're waiving the interest on the stamped warrant.
So it's not costing those district owners anything except for the date, and it's not unusual to not, some counties assess one time a year.
Let the three supervisors do their job.
Yeah,
Why wasn't it done earlier? Why is it taking so long to rectify this?
You all approved a schedule just this year. We had no good schedule to assess a property owner to.
There wasn't any kind of schedule, or wasn't a good one?
Yes, there was it wasn't a good one. And so that's how do I explain to a property owner that they're getting an assessment for 42 acres when they only have 40 acres?
So this assessment that Bolton Meg did recently goes back to,
No, this is all secondary roads projects. This has nothing to do with the
who did
current
the
project.
assessment then?
The Board of Supervisors ordered the assessment after secondary roads did the work.
Okay, but who did the assessment?
In 1917, I'd have to look to see who the Board of Supervisors were.
That's,
It's an old schedule. When the Avenue of Saints went through, there should have been a reclassification schedule done at that time. That was a major enough project that should have done a reclassification schedule. The prior engineer tried to come up with something that he thought was reasonable, but his end result showed some property owners owing more than they should owe, and the state of Iowa owing less than what they should owe. For example, there's examples like that in the schedule. I can tell you, Amanda and I I bet we spent at minimum a week's worth of hours just trying to figure out this schedule that was a poorly done schedule by the prior engineer when the Avenue of Saints went through. Would you like it if I sent you a bill for 42 acres of benefit when you only had 40 acres?
certainly not.
That's why we felt we could not do the schedule. That's why we asked the Board of Supervisors to do a reclassification of this. It took, for whatever reason, Mark, were you on the board in 2019?
through the end of it.
Yeah. So ask Mark, why in 2019, when we have minutes that say we don't have a good schedule, why something wasn't done in 2019?
You could ask me that, to be very honest, I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't recall this being an issue at that time, regardless of, and certainly the drainage district wasn't, we didn't start the process of drainage district 3 at that time.
This new
So,
project,
Yeah,
no.
so,
These little repair jobs, yes.
just because I was on the board, I wasn't part of the drainage district 3 discussion that led to that. So just to be clarified, you can ask me why it wasn't taken care of then. I don't know. It was there.
Board
I
minutes
think the
to show
point
this
is well
issue.
made. That's 4 years ago. It's a long time to bring up.
I
But
agree.
regardless of that, we've kicked this around a long time. We're to the point where we're trying to clear it up now. It's got to be done. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. And we've discussed it to the point where I think we understand where we're at. Is there further comment from anyone listening on the phone or the supervisors take action on the motion? Any further comment from anyone here? All right, we have a motion and a second. To waive interest on the stamped warrants issued from 2019 through 2020 through September 1st of 2023. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. I think it's been recognized. We need to follow up with this stuff as well. Okay, thank you for the discussion. All right. Item 11, discussion regarding the sale of the county van. There was something brought up a little bit about the need for the county van. Brandy, you asked for this to be put on the agenda. What's the concern about the county van that you have? It's used by various departments as a vehicle to go places. They put the fuel in it. It saves us some expenses. So what's the issue with the county van? Is it not working
This is
anymore?
Gloria and I together agenda item. So the assessor's office owns half of the van and the county as a whole owns the other half, I guess. I don't know. It's filled out of an department that Gloria oversees, but I think it's technically your guys' decision. Yes, the purpose is to allow county employees to take the van and we're reimbursed, versus paying their mileage, the department pays the fuel. This van has had some significant mechanical problems since we purchased it. And in Gloria and I's review of things, the money saved by billing for gas costs versus paying employees mileage is not offset by the amount of even honestly, just like the maintenance, tires, wipers, oil changes, car washes. We don't save enough, in my opinion, to override all those things. We've had significant mechanical problems with it. It had a bunch of wiring harness issues that had to be replaced. The fuel nozzle thing going into it broke. An oil cooler seal or something just flew out of it, and we had to have it repaired in Mason City. My office specifically does not get the use out of it. We typically use it because we own half of it, so we feel like we should get our share out of it. But I mean, we have an amount of problems with the vehicle because it sits too long without being used. I just don't think that we're actually saving any money by owning this van.
All right.
What's it worth? Do you have any idea, Brandy? How old is that, or?
It's a 2016 Chrysler. My understanding was it was purchased for $20,000. I don't know. I wasn't
It was a little less than.
Gary's portion. Gary had budgeted $10,000 for it. That's what I know. I do not know what it's worth. Before wasting any more of my time on the van, that's why I wanted to bring this discussion. When the van broke down a month or so ago in Mason City, I basically wasted 2 of my days trying to figure out how to get it to some place to get it repaired and towed. And I had to drive to Mason City and take the keys over there with the other county vehicle that's owned just by my office. And then after it was repaired, I had to take an employee with me to drive over there and pick the van up. And by the time you do all of this, like I said, I've wasted 2 days already of not being productive, just trying to rectify that one issue.
Are you suggesting we can get along without one?
Yes.
Okay.
I think for the amount of times, I mean, if it's used once a month, that's a lot. I mean, typically it's sits for 2 or 3 months and then maybe is used 2 or 3 days in a month and then sits for 2 or 3 more months. When you have ISAC, employees want to use it. The treasurer's got new employees. They've used it a few times. The recorder new employees. Gloria and I usually have some standard classes that we go to that sometimes it's used for that. Again, my office uses it because we feel like we own half of it and we should not let it sit. We should get something for the money we're spending for it. But we could certainly, as an office, get along without our half ownership of it.
Auto car, is this something you use to haul electrical equipment around the
We
country?
do. We use it for, like today, it's being used for hauling this afternoon it'll be used for hauling election equipment. November 6th, it would be used for hauling election equipment. Day after an election, picking equipment up. That's kind of one concern I have is because it's nice to have the election equipment in an enclosed vehicle. Prior to that, the equipment would be hauled in the back of a truck with a tarp over it if it was the moisture in the air. That's the tough part that I have is the election equipment side of it because we're putting $25,000–$30,000 worth of equipment in the back of a pickup.
But I think you could buy a topper for John's truck in what, half of what we would save, I think, from this van each year.
What is the current usage? There's a schedule we must keep for people to use it. What's the current schedule? You mentioned that you use a couple, 3 times a month. What's the current schedule on the use of the van?
I do want to say that I think there was a duration of time where people weren't using it because it seemed like it was having problems quite some time. Ever since COVID, when it just got parked because of, it got parked over at the public health building because mostly there was no travel. So right after we got it, or shortly after we got it, there was no travel. And then we had a squirrel that got inside and chewed wires. And so it was out of commission when it did need to be used. We do have, Quali Auto is saying that the vehicle is not getting driven enough, which is causing some of the problems with why it's not reliable. Yep. So if I just go back to January 23, I show that there were 4 times all the assessor using it.
So to clarify that, I was out doing field work and I could have easily just taken our own car.
Yeah.
If the assessor has it, we could have not used it.
In February, it was used 4 times, twice by the assessor, twice by me. The next month, it was used for March, it was used twice for special elections. Day before the election, day after the election, and then I used it the 9th and 10th or something in March. The next month, it was used, in April, it was used once by the treasurer's office. In March, it was used, or excuse me, May, it was used for 2 days by the recorder, for 4 days by the treasurer, 2 days by the assessor, and a single day by the assessor.
So what month was it?
What's that?
What month?
May. May. In June, it was used 3 days by the recorder, and 1, 2, 3, 4 single days by the treasurer's office. July, I don't show it was used at all in July. August, the treasurer had it for 3 days. I had it broke down. When it broke down, because I didn't end up having it. And then I took it to ISAC, and then for 3 days. And then Jen and I took it to a meeting in Osage at the end of August. This month, it is, Bernie used it on Tuesday. The treasurer's, or no, the 7th, the recorder's office used it. 13th, 14th, 15th of this month, the public health is using it. And the 28th is the recorder's office using it. The one thing we didn't think to do when we talked about doing it was bringing it up in the department head meeting. Both of us forgot to bring it up in the department head meeting to see if anybody had any position on it. It will be a switch in cost because I pay for any maintenance type stuff that's split with Brandy. She pays it out of her fund. I pay it out of general fund department 10. So it's one budget that I pay for out of, but if you know, the fuel, someone's just filling it up with fuel, that's definitely a less expensive expense to a department compared to paying 10 cents below the federal rate for their personal vehicle. So you might have go to Des Moines, fill it up and pay $50, $40 bucks maybe. But you're going to pay $100 and some dollars for mileage reimbursement that would affect a department. So on the counties, yours is all coming out of, whether it's your people driving it, it's all out of one fund. On this side, it affects multiple funds. And
So the departments only put gas on it, they don't pay any, stand any repairs when they drive out here?
yeah, correct. Department 10 pays the repairs.
Okay.
So if you look at Gloria's list of us using the van, from my personal office perspective, a third of the days probably in the last year were used by my office because we felt compelled, but half of all of the maintenance. So I think it was about $600 when the fuel thing broke earlier this year. And then it was $300, you know, so if you say $1,000, I paid $500 to keep the repair of that van going and did not get
I wouldn't have paid out $500 in mileage to my employees. So I know it's spread a little different over on the other half of things, but it's a lot. In the winter, we have to sweep the van off and move it, every day. It won't drive up the parking lot hill, so we have to play these games on where we park it so we can get out. If not, I have to get like Jason and Chris and Bernie to help us push it up the hill. And it's just like all these things, so we don't take it in the winter to do field work if it's not going to be good roads. For example, I used it versus Chris because I do field work in town where the roads are paved and plowed. It's not a worthy vehicle to drive throughout the county to do field work in rural driveways and on rural roads. So that excludes it from that use from our office. I mean, like I said, I really think for the $500 and the cost of fixing those two things, John could have bought a topper for his truck, which would haul your election equipment. John's doing the hauling anyway, right?
Yeah.
So John already has a vehicle that's already being paid for and insured and all this stuff. I just think that's a better option.
All right, we've had a discussion. Is there anything supervisors like to ask or regarding this?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Gloria, maybe it isn't necessary to pick up a topper, but could you rent a van to haul your voting equipment in when you needed it for a day or two?
Well, it's been interesting. I talked about this last week at the meetings I was at last week, and some counties have their emergency management provides a trailer that they're not using to haul the equipment inside of a trailer, an already existing trailer. Those are larger counties, but they do that. There's some, they haul them with their personal vehicles, and that I'm not comfortable with hauling tens of thousands of dollars of election equipment in a personal vehicle. We do have the departments, again, just would need to know that their budget may change, but it should cost less in Department 10. I'll really can figure something out with election equipment.
It sounds to me like it's an item that it was for discussion. I hear your points. Still think it could be a valuable tool for certain things. I'm not prepared to take any action to sell the county van at this time based on your comments at this time. I think it still has a valuable part of the county. We're going to use it tomorrow, right? We can talk about
No, if somebody else got it, yeah, tomorrow.
I mean, it's just a discussion item. I don't think anything has to be done. Probably not worth a whole lot of money. 2016 van with how many thousand miles on it?
86, 50, somewhere in the 50, 53,
Okay.
56.
I don't think it's hurting anything to be where it is right now. It broke down. Sorry, it cost you 2 days of drama and reduced your efficiency. I guess we all take a car sometimes. That's what happens. I'm sorry. I just don't think we've discussed it. At this time, there's no action item. I don't think we have enough figures. I mean, I heard what you said, but I didn't see any numbers either. So right now, let's just keep it, see what happens for a while.
Is there information that we could provide that would answer your questions?
Well, I don't know about that. You'd have to provide that, but it's a mid-year thing. Sometimes we talk about this during budget years, budget decisions. I don't think it's doing a lot of damage to anybody other than it broke down on you once.
No,
so
it's
sorry.
not just once.
More than once. So sorry. So maybe just use your own personal car then, if you're not comfortable driving that. But for right now,
Right, I understand your point, and I certainly can take my own car if it broke down. And I think that, like Gloria said, that's what's happening. I'm speaking here from my budgetary standpoint. This is a cost to my budget, and it is an excessive cost to my budget for the value I receive for it. So if you wish, I can pause this and take it to my board. My board doesn't have any authority to make a decision over whether or not I sell the van. But I mean, I can certainly do that at budget time, but my opinion will be the same at budget time.
Mark,
Yeah.
I understand how each department's protective of their budget. I don't think the thing was laid out at the beginning. I don't think it's fair that your department bears all the expense and everybody else drives it for just gas.
We pay half the expense, yeah.
And you pay the other half.
Yes.
I don't think that's a good balance at all. If the van's gonna stay, I think departments need to contribute to that per mile.
I think it's based on the departments is because of, general fund. She just has one fund, we're just taking out of one fund. Might be multiple departments under a fund, but.
But they're still not standing any repairs.
No,
Right.
but the general fund is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't think it gets drove enough to, but you can't haul election equipment in a topper. I don't
More
think.
comfortable with a topper than a tarp.
Yeah, all that stuff sucks in the back. So,
All right, we've had a lengthy discussion about it. We're not gonna take any action today. We'll talk about it more. Perhaps it's something we can talk about when we meet and decide budgets for next year. If not, if you'd like to present some information on it, fine. I don't think it's the biggest issue that we're dealing with, and I think we can get along with the van as is. It's gonna be used by other people in the meantime, and hopefully it'll hold up a little better than what. Any further items to discuss on this? Thank you. All right, discussion with county engineer on secondary road activity.
Well, I came back for the annual report. I figured I might as well just do my normal update as well. So I got some paperwork on both. And then I've got some information that I had from the DOT on the systems permit that they'd sent out in July after that bill had changed, which was what I was attempting to describe last week, but I think I wasn't very clear. So I have just an example of that. What I highlighted was kind of the answer to, I think, the question we had last week. But let me start with my update and then I'll go on to the annual report. So maintenance wise, still working through work orders, drive permits. I mean, that's always year round. We've been hauling riprap in from some of our stockpiles back to the shop. We're going to work on protecting a bridge over on Niles Corner. The streams really meandered and started to eat away at that bank. We've been working on a shouldering project on B60 for a while there, east of Marlborough, well, east of Highway 14. You guys are still out mowing gravels and blacktops. And then just our normal general shop maintenance, and then my sign crew's working on sign inventory, which they do every year. And then office-wise, our bridge replacement project on 155th Victory is starting. I think they're mobilizing today. They started bringing equipment in last week, so they're gonna. The contractor seemed very confident that he'd be able to have beams set before the end of the year. So.
And they have it done by May, don't they?
Yeah, he wants to be done and out of there. So that's his plan. So hopefully that holds true. Get him going, and as long as the water stays this low, he seemed pretty confident with the work he's gonna have to do. They'll putting the coffer dams into the river and then building piers and everything. So we're starting to work on design for our day labor projects. Those are just getting going. Our pavement marking project, we're just finally getting the final documents are going to be completed on that this week. We've been working on a project on T26 south of Rudd. Jake's been doing the survey and design work on that. So we're keep working through those plans. And then just our normal general office work. So nothing too out of the ordinary here. Unless you guys had any questions on that, I was going to go a little more into the all systems permit.
what are your T26 survey design details?
Jake, so we're going to do an overlay on that. Originally, Dusty had budgeted for that last year. And then when I had planned on doing the Floyd 3rd Avenue project that came up, that was not really planned for. I didn't want to try to spend money on 2 local projects at once. I didn't really think that would be a good idea for our fund. Then the Floyd 3rd Ave project got pulled, so that I ended up not doing a local project. But what the goal would be is next year, this next coming season, we do Floyd 3rd Avenue, and then the year after that, we do T26, and those would be out of local dollars.
Somewhere in 25 you do.
Yeah, it'd be the construction. Well, we'd let it. It'd be the construction season of 25. We let it next about a year from now, or maybe a little further, maybe in the winter. So we're really preliminary, but this will be Jake's first set of plans he's doing here, and that's the first set of plans I'm going to really oversee from the beginning to the end. So we're going to spend some extra time on it, basically, make sure we get it the way we want it.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Are there any plans to improve that road that goes west of Rockford, past the Fossil Park over to the county line?
So that they let that project back in, I don't remember if it was 2020 or 2019, and there were no bids on it. So we have final plans for it. They'd have to be updated. It's not in the program right now. I need to get it back into the program. So basically, nobody would do the work when they let it before, I guess. I couldn't believe it, but yeah, they received no bids on it. So that is definitely on my radar. That's one of I've got like a list of roads that we need to do. So I have received some.
Kind of tough shape too.
Yeah, I've received some complaints on it as well. Okay. But otherwise, on the all systems permit update, that letter I provided you there, it's a lot. You're not going to want to try to read it all immediately. But what I have highlighted was maybe that question we talked about with the gravel roads, on what somebody would do if they're, say, hauling corn from their field, and we only have the paved roads approved for the all systems permit. What would cover that is permit holders may operate a permitted vehicle over the most direct route between the location where the vehicle is loaded or to be unloaded and the nearest highway or street upon which movement under the permit is valid. So it's a point of origin to the destination is kind of the terminology they're using. So, if you're loading at your farm and the nearest paved road is still a couple miles away, you'd be able to get to that road and you'd be okay. You just still need to follow the posted bridges. If there's a posted bridge, you need to not go across it on the gravel roads. So the big shift was what I was trying to explain last week is they're wanting us to provide a reason to not allow the all systems permit loads to be on our paved road system. And we have to come up with those designations before July of 2025. So I've already had the bridges reviewed for that, and there was just the one bridge which I had said on B30. It's just northwest of Rudd before that B30 curve. It's the old highway. That's the only mile of the paved roads that we wouldn't be able to have the all systems permit on. And so I've got that all approved, and it's on the DOT's map that they can use the paved roads.
So that's a big thing.
Yeah,
That opens up everything,
pretty much.
with the exception of that.
Yeah, so basically, as long as if you're at your point of your destination or your point of origin, you just need to get to a paved road in a direct route, basically. So I can't remember if there are any other questions from that last week. I figured that was kind of our big question that we had.
So is there any signage we have to do?
No, not that I'm aware of. And some of this, it's been changing, so at our meetings that I have when DOT staff is there, we usually talk about this, if there is something that's changing or not. The legislature is still, I don't think they knew how we'd all receive it and what we would all do. So I think that's where maybe they've shifted gears here and there. So maybe there will be, maybe there won't. That's where I just wanted to check for the bridges and make sure we cover our end where we're posting bridges that need to be posted. So that way if something did happen, we've at least marked that they shouldn't be on the bridge. And if they were, then obviously it wouldn't be our liability.
So essentially that one bridge you're talking about north on B60 is the one that's going to be exempted?
Yeah, B30, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
West Red, I believe.
B30.
Is that by where Homer Barnes lives?
It's just a 1 mile.
Well, there's two bridges there, and I don't know which one he's.
I think it's the further west bridge, but I guess it doesn't matter which one it is because it'll be the whole mile.
Can't get through there if you can't get through one.
Yep. So it's this mile right here.
Yeah, so it's a 40-ton bridge there, probably.
Yep. It's fine for normal loading, but just not the all systems permit with that extra 12%.
That doesn't make any difference what the governor says.
I don't think so, but you can, yeah, because you can't go across any posted bridges anyway, right? Even with the harvest proclamation. So she hasn't put that out yet, right?
I haven't heard, but it might be, but I just haven't heard.
I haven't either, so I assume that would be coming soon.
So that hard surface road doesn't meet the requirements you're saying?
That bridge does not, yeah. So that was my concern, and that's kind of why I wanted to hold off on that right away, because I knew we needed to have them all evaluated, so.
So you have to provide written justification. Have you done that?
Yeah, to
Okay,
the
got
DOT,
that
yes,
one.
I have the documentation, so we have a software, structural information management system is what it's called, the DOT uses it as well. So we can mark in there, and they've actually set it up for us that we can mark a box that says, not okay for the all systems permit, and then they can look at our load rating that we've done on it, and
Right.
they can, so that's pretty much the only justification we've had to provide, and then obviously if anything changes in the future, we'll keep our eyes peeled for it, but.
All right.
Other than that, I guess I didn't have a lot else.
Yeah. Merlin.
Yes. In other words, what you're telling us is the county's all open except that 1 mile on.
B30, yeah, pretty much, yeah. So the point is for gravels, if you're loading somewhere you want to get to the nearest paved road, which you're probably doing at any chance.
So now the next question is it governor gonna hold 90,000 this fall, or is she gonna depend on?
I think.
Yeah.
90,000 is open year round.
If you have a permit,
You gotta buy a permit.
so but is she gonna open it up for fall?
No, she opened it up for grain haulers year round, 90,000. She's not gonna make a fall declaration
Okay, that's what I.
because it's 90,000 now year round.
But you gotta have a
She said,
permit.
you gotta buy their permit,
So where do you buy the permit from?
The DOT.
DOT.
Yeah.
DOT.
DOT, but see, the problem I got is I can buy a $500 permit, but if I'm on a county road that isn't approved, I can get fined.
Now, when is your road open?
The paved roads have been open. Yep, I've got that on the map for a while. So,
You just didn't open the gravel roads.
yep, I still haven't approved them, but based on the bill, from your point of origin where you're loading to, you can use the gravel roads to get to an approved road, basically. So it covers that situation.
So from the field to the bends, it's all covered if you're on gravel road.
As long as you're going, wherever you load, you need to go to a route that, if you have to use a gravel road to get to your destination, yes, you're fine. But if you need to use if you need to go far enough that you need to use a paved road, you need to go to the paved road. That makes sense.
Okay, just for an example, there's a lot of people coming from southwest to get to the ethanol plant, they use that gravel. Are they gonna be able to continue to use that gravel, or do they gotta go south, where they get on 14 and come around that they have?
I'll just read and make sure I'm not saying this
I
wrong.
mean, I don't, there's not my problem with issues.
Basically, there may operate a permitted vehicle over the most direct route between the location where the vehicle is loaded or to be unloaded. So if it's the most direct route on gravel road, they'd be okay. If it's not, they need to use a paved road because that's what's approved, basically.
But can you exempt a gravel road if you have a bridge that's
Yes.
like
The-
30?
It's still the same where they can't go, we still have posted bridges, so they still can't go over posted bridges with increased loads. Like some of our bridges are all the way down to 10 tons as the max. So, they already can't use those.
So
and
they
if-
can't use.
Yeah, this permit doesn't allow you to go over posted
No,
bridges.
your
You still-
posted bridges, you better stay off of that.
Yes. You don't want to have those situations.
The biggest problem I got is these guys hauling 1,800 bushel on 8 wheels, 4 axles. That's the problem with these big wagons. They're harder on the road than my 1,200 bushel on 18 wheels.
They don't need a permit.
They don't need nothing.
Just a good lobby at the legislature. That's usually how it worked out.
Yeah, I always said any wagon that's got tires and brakes should have a plate on it. We could use that to fix our roads. Just a 10-ton plate. I need to go to the state, I think. and
Well, the
make that-
road lobby is, you gotta start to about that one. That was discussed long ago, and that's kind of where they ended up on it. Yeah. I understand the point. That's just not in law. Well, I thought that's a good explanation. I'm glad it was clarified. We know what we've got, and it's out there, it's mapped already on the DOT's map, so we know what's, sounds like it's pretty open.
And the DOT's map should update. Eventually, they don't have it set up to do it right now, but we have a road notification system that we control. So like if we're gonna close a road, we'll put it in there and it sends out to sheriff, sends out to EMS, sends out to the schools. Eventually they want their map to respond with that as well. So if it sees us close a road, it'll show up on their map. That's the idea. I don't know how long that'll take to do, so.
You know, when we started this, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of people own their own semis and trucks. How we had a different take on this. I'm gonna contact a couple of people that I contacted about that. Scott Siemens is one, and I don't know if he knows this, but he should. You know, so there are others that you might know.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna take a lot of people.
I think that little highlighted
And it's
portion.
gonna have an effect on the roads.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not forget that. It will.
Yep. Yeah, I'm hoping maybe if they're gonna push this kind of legislature through, maybe they look at adding to the secondary road fund at a state level, you know. I guess I would hope they would do that, but.
Well,
See,
even Ben Chatfield mentioned the last meeting we had about one of the quarries over by north of Floyd, I believe. The road was so poor that they had to pull a vehicle out of the ditch because the road caved.
Either way, it's so dry.
It was so dry.
Beat up, but
You have anything else, Richard?
Nope, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Last time I seen you, I asked you about who's gonna fix with the city, but all that cable, who's gonna fix the ditches?
Oh, yes. That was, okay, remind me again the location of that.
Well, it's on 180th, Indigo, North 2 miles.
And they did.
No worries.
Force them, right?
No, there's a post in there, there's holes, there's fence in there.
I haven't gone any further on that yet. So what I run into is like, I have a hard time being able to make them pay to fix things. So last year, Mid-American came in and put a fiber in down by Midway, and they tore up timber. Or no, it wouldn't have been timber. Been an east-west road, but they tore up a road down there, and I sent them a bill for all the rock we had to put down because they tore our road up and didn't fix it. In the permit, it says they have to, and I didn't get anywhere. I sent it a couple times and nothing. So I don't really know. And I tried to look at different advice from other county departments.
Yes, correct.
They said they can't get.
Oh, you did? There's one in there.
And then the one I gave them.
Did they have a bond?
And they just ran it down.
Can she go against her performance bond?
And they don't use, this performance bonds usually for like construction projects, so.
That's a construction project.
I would think there'd be a way to get these guys to come back and pay. I really think
I'm not sure.
maybe you need to talk to the county attorney,
Yeah, maybe.
because these guys leaving a mess is bad.
Yeah, I agree.
And they come in here, they do it, and they're gone.
Yeah, it's in our permit that they have to return it the way it was.
Yeah, but it ain't the way it was. If there's no cable there, they need to pull their signs out and say there's buried cable.
And fix it, get it back so you can mow your ditch.
That's right.
There you go.
So I haven't run into a lot of success. It sounds like most counties have the same problem. So it's kind of similar as, you know, if somebody gets in an accident and breaks one of our signs, or like we had somebody this year hit a culvert and there was no police report, so I don't know who did it, but then that damage, we got to fix it, right?
Yeah.
But they caused it, and it's hard to, I don't know how to get them to pay for it.
All right, thank you. Jacob. Agenda item 13 is a future agenda item.
I'm done.
Canvas of the Central Springs School election.
Pardon?
Canvas of the Central Springs School election.
Yeah, that would require a meeting on Monday or Tuesday.
Right. I'll find out if it has to be an action item to set the date of the canvas. We've always done it that way. If so, you might be setting it
And on Monday and having it on Tuesday? All right. Well, I guess we can plan on that. Is there anything wrong with that?
Nope.
Well, we'll just plan on that, setting those canvas of that election, school board election for next Monday.
We'll have a regular meeting Monday.
And then the canvas would be Tuesday.
9 o'clock.
I won't be
No, it
here.
won't.
It's Tuesday the 19th.
Yes.
It won't be at 9 o'clock because you have to post agenda for it.
Oh. Okay. What time do you think it'll be?
I can have an agenda ready to post.
The agenda item would be on Monday, so the canvas would be on Tuesday sometime after 24 hours notice.
There for sure. Should be available.
It has to be done Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Future agenda item?
Well, the bids for the District 3 Monday.
Pardon?
Are you receiving opening bids? District 3 project on Monday?
No.
The bids are opened on Thursday
The 8th.
and then
14.
they're reviewed for, they meet the requirements and then they're presented to the board on Monday for action.
What's that date?
18.
18. So the
They have to be in by the 14th and we look at them on the 18th.
Bolton and Mink will be here on the 14th to review them to make sure they're meeting all their requirements and then you'll act on them.
Have you got any in yet?
I wasn't here Thursday and Friday, so I'm not sure if they've received it.
The only other thing I can think of is the total accounting for the courthouse and law enforcement center in the works. We want to present it in a format that citizens can understand. It's a lot of information, and so we're working on it. Originally scheduled to be on this meeting. A lot of time was spent on it. Hope to be able to do that at our next meeting, but we wanted to present it in a form that people can understand. And so that's our goal, is to have it at our next meeting. I believe your meeting a little after today's meeting to discuss their portion of it. So look forward to that coming as soon as it's ready to be presented. Right. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Also move.
All right, I'll say, move in second as we adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That one.